All right, it's Media Day, and we are joined with Magnolia head coach Craig Martin, and we're talking about 10-5A Division One, one of the more competitive Division One 5A districts in the state of Texas, especially in Houston. There's only the two really Division One ones in Houston, but you guys were so competitive last year, that district top to bottom. Talk about how you think it's going to plan out. I mean, you got thrown into a district that you weren't, it's a kind of a hodgepodge of teams if you look at the way you all put it. Now that you've gone through it in a year, what are you expecting for next year?
Unfortunately, I expect the same thing. There's going to be some really good football teams that get left at home at the end of it. That's for sure. We kind of felt like we were one of those this past year, and I know Foster felt that way too. It'll be another barn burner, and then we've got some new coaches in place too. Kirk showing back up at Manville, we're all excited about, right? And Shane taking over at Foster, they'll keep that program rolling, and Jordan, coming back home to Friendswood will certainly spark them as well. So it'll be another slugfest. That's what we're expecting.
I was going to say, just when you have the district figured out, you got to figure out the coach. Well, at least one is a coach that you've seen before.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Let's talk about your team from last year. 2-2, you guys started off, including that classic game that we actually had cameras at against Fulshire, one of our favorite games of the year. Probably not for you, but it was a favorite game highlight-wise. And then you kind of finished off losing 5 of your last 6. Had no problem scoring. It seemed to be defense being the issue. How is that something that you guys are addressing during spring ball, and how do you hope to get the defense up to par here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the end of it, we had a new coordinator, which always takes a little bit of time, even though the system that we were running was the same as our previous coordinator, really. But there's always a little bit of a difference there. We had graduated quite a few guys off of the team before, and those guys were really good. There was a handful of 3-year starters in that group off the defense that we had lost, and so it was just one of those years for us defensively. But yeah, that's been a focal point for us. Week 5, we actually moved up 5 freshmen to play defense. We really struggled to tackle, and that was kind of our Achilles heel. And like I said, we were a little banged up. Our linebacking core was never really the same 2 guys. And then, we were a little dinged up on our D line as well. So we brought 5 freshmen up. And so the good thing about that is that we've got some experience coming back. Didn't really help us a whole lot, when you have to play 5 freshmen against the guys that we have to play in this district. That it's usually not a recipe for success. But the good thing is that we feel like we've got some guys coming back now that have gotten some game experience, behind them, and I think we've seen a little bit of that experience come out thus far this spring.
Yeah, they said the best thing about freshmen is soon they'll be sophomores, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what's happening this year. But on the flip side, offensively, the running game seems like it's going to be a strength of yours, especially with Hunter coming back. You got a couple offensive linemen returning for sure.
Sure.
Talk about how you feel about the offensive lineman, the offense, especially since you're going to have to replace Montana at quarterback, but you still have he's got to be a 3-year starter now, Hunter Andrews.
Yeah, sure. I think it's always difficult when you have to break in a new quarterback, for sure. And we'll see how that battle shakes out, over the spring and over the summer. But having experience back on your O-line is big. We really have, four guys coming back that played, considerable amounts of time there. And the challenge now is to create some depth. Offensive line is one of those spots where guys get dinged up too. And so, we're trying to make sure that we create some depth. Having, Hunter Andrews back, having a Gage Sanders back, our tight end fullback, those things are all key pieces for us that will help take some of the pressure away off of our quarterback. And then we feel like we've got some good choices in our receiving core. The challenge for us will be seeing what those guys look like when the Friday night lights really do turn on. But we feel like we've got some good candidates there. We're capable, and now we just got to get ourselves, a lot better than we are right now. I told the kids after our first scrimmage, scrimmaged each other last Thursday, and I told them the bad thing is that we're not ready to play, but the good thing is we don't have to be ready to play just yet. So we feel good about it. Certainly, we're going to lean on Hunter Andrews for sure. He's a kid that his recruiting has picked up a lot of steam too. So he's certainly gonna be a guy that we lean on.
Do you expect, or I guess I should say, at this time in April or May, do you hope to expect to see the same kind of firepower on offense as far as lighting up the scoreboard? Because I mean, over half your games you had 35 or more. Does that look like it's trending that way, or are you going to have to? Maybe we should address the fact who do you have behind center this year, and what do you feel about him?
I really don't think my expectation would be that we don't, really have a letdown in offensive production. I do think that the way offenses are designed nowadays is they really are flexible based on your personnel that you've got. In years past, we've had really mobile, agile, fast quarterbacks, and so we've used a little bit more of the quarterback run game with Montana. He was a little bit more of a big, tall pocket passer kid, and so we threw the ball a little bit more probably this past year than we had in years past in terms of straight drop back passing. I think we've got some good candidates at quarterback right now, and they're battling it out, and we'll kind of have to see where it takes us.
I got you. I won't hold you to it in May, so I'm not going to make it
That's
tell
right.
you what goes on. I guess finally, let's talk about the for fans across the state that may not get a chance to see it. I'm always interested in rivalry games. Talk about the Magnolia Bowl and what that kind of means for that town. I had a chance to actually shoot that game 2 years ago. Almost didn't get to highlights on them because I couldn't get out the parking lot. There's so many people there. But talk about what that game means to the community and what that means to your squad.
Yeah, I think it's a cool game. Very very few places do you really get to have a game kind of like the Magnolia Bowl, right? Where you just have two high schools in town and you kind of battle it out once a year. I think it's a friendly rivalry if there is such a thing. Right, we have a lot of respect for those guys and their kids are very similar to our kids. They're just good, hardworking kids, and so that they're gonna be well coached and they're gonna be tough and they're gonna be strong and all that good stuff. I think what's interesting about the Magnolia Bowl for us is that really Magnolia West is the old Magnolia High School, if that makes sense. It's really in Magnolia proper, whereas Magnolia High, even though this school's been here for 20 years, is really on the new side of town. And so the old Magnolia people really are West fans, and kind of the new Magnolia people are High fans. And so I will say that, I think Coach Berna, when he first got to West, several years ago, before Coach McGee, he's there now, and Sterling Doty when he first got here, they and really Sean Bell before he ended up at Baylor. Those guys really did. They set a pretty good standard of kind of flipping Magnolia football at really West and at High. And I think those guys are kind of important for kind of getting this thing going, because if you're two terrible football teams, it's really not much of a rivalry game, right? So that's been fun. It's been fun to kind of see the crowds get bigger and bigger and the excitement for that game get bigger and bigger. Interestingly enough, I really do. I'd have to go back and check for sure, but in my 4 years here, the visiting team has always won. And so we're going on the road this year, and so we're hoping that trend continues. But they're fun, man. They really are. They are usually a one-score contest, and you can throw all of the other stuff out of the window. And kind of get after it. Like I said, it was a 5-point game last year, and we had a chance to kind of score down there late and didn't convert on 4th down. So it's a really cool rivalry. The town really comes out to support it, and the kids always play hard.
And it's one of 10 games. It's one of 10 games you don't have to worry about putting together a motivational speech, right? You got
no doubt.
You got to work your butt off on the Kempner game, but when it comes to Magnolia West, you're like, all right, that's already written for me. Let me get.
There's no doubt. Yeah, you don't have to. That week of practice is usually takes care of itself.
Excellent. Hey, Coach, thank you for joining us, man. I know it's way too early, but hey, it's Texas. We're going to talk about this. That's how it goes.
Hey, it's always football season.
Exactly. All right, good luck this year, and we'll talk to you down the line.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.